Hello and welcome. In this particular video, we are starting off lectures on paper 2 anthropology. As there's a lot of material which is available for paper 1, but here we'll start with paper 2 and we'll try to finish it within a month. These will be like the normal classes, paper and pen based. So I would like you to take your books as well as notes out, and I'll publish this course only when I'll finish the paper 2's part A or section A. So you will have a complete notes for paper 2 section A. So we are starting 1.1, which is evolution of Indian culture and civilization. So here, as we are dealing right now, evolution of Indian culture and civilization. Indian culture is not restricted to only one religion or anything, and it is a melting bowl for many races, cultures, and civilizations. So, before starting this topic, history is something that we divide into two parts. Where first is prehistory, where there's no written document available, and for proto-history there is written document which is available, but we do not have deciphered them yet. In prehistoric culture there is no writing, the community is pre-literate, and no written records are available. Proto-history is between history and prehistory, where there is the availability of written document, but the script is not deciphered yet. Now we'll talk about the very important topic, which is oral history. Oral history refers to the study of history of contemporary society who are pre-literate. Any possibility of written record is recalled out. Scholars like William Robertson. So this is the name of first scholar which we have seen in paper 2 section 1. So William Robertson in the year 1777 tried to study the human evolution before the evolutionist, and he used the terms like savagery, barbarism, and civilization. As far as these three terms are concerned, we will be dealing with them separately when we will start our paper 1. Now we'll start with the few writers, few scholars whose names are important. And as far as this particular thing is concerned, the name of writer or the scholars is very important as far as the answers are concerned. So here we'll write down a name, Putman. In 1851 attempted to systematic study of past culture under the domain of prehistory, and it was he who explained the meaning of prehistory as a domain of knowledge beyond history, dealing with human past beyond the history. So Putman was the first one, probably the first one or amongst the first one, who attempted the systematic study of past culture. So this is the name of our first scholar. Second, we'll talk about Lubbock. In the year 1865, we examined the evidences of different prehistoric culture and classified them into two broad categories. So Lubbock, he examined the prehistoric culture. He examined the prehistoric culture and then he divided them into Paleolithic, and Neolithic. The focus of study. So we'll talk about the focus of study, right? The focus of study in this, the first point is prehistory attempts to study the sequence. So here there is a study of sequence of prehistoric occupation in an area. So there is a study of occupation sequence, that first settlement and second is livelihood. So prehistory attempt to study the sequence of prehistoric occupation in area, which we can write down as settlements and livelihood. It focuses on origin and spread. So it also focuses on origin and spread. Next point is they focus on the lifestyle of prehistoric population in given period of time. So they also talk about the lifestyle. And the last point here is prehistorian tried to arrive at same points, axioms, some laws that could be used to study the socio-cultural evolution of the prehistoric community. So they talk about socio-cultural evolution of certain community. These broad focuses lead to the following specific study. So the four broad specifics that we talked about, they led to the study in a specific way. So they study the occupational flows to find out the nature of the livelihood. So now they focused more on occupational floors and find out the nature of livelihood. You also come across industries or sites of tool making. In the industry, you will come across specific type of tools which were made by specific technique. These are the techniques that we will be talking about when we'll extensively start with the archaeology, and there will be various methods of tool flaking, etc. So study of the tool type and tool technique is another specific point. The mechanism of food production were studied. It could be a hunting culture, pastoral culture, agricultural based culture. So it simply could be hunting, pastoral, or agricultural society. The environmental conditions were also studied, like age of the ice, temperature, floor, and leading to different environmental conditions like grassland, etc. These are cultural remains in items of material culture such as rock painting, cave painting, presence of pit, structure of house, floor design, settlement pattern. These material culture is outside the study of floors and technique. So we'll write down the few, like rock paintings, cave painting, pit, houses, floors, and settlement patterns. These materials, these are the cultural materials which are used for the study of tool and technique. They also study in specific detail urbanization, which is reflected in town planning, settlement pattern, cities grown size, creation of non-producing class or group. They also studied how emergence of surplus has given rise to the formation of state, and the state formation and surplus management in another important dimension. So with the urbanization there will be the problems or kind of modern uh, ways of dealing the situation. So there will be state, there will be production of surplus, the surplus will have to be managed well, and the management comes at the last comes the distribution. So these were some of the areas which were studied. Now we will talk about the new area, which is the tool types. Start with the new topic, that is we'll start with the tool type now. Some of the prehistoric tools are called as core tool, while the others are called as flake tool. What are the core tools and what are the flake tools? We will study in deep here. Boulders. Boulders, they are simply stone pebbles. They are simply stone pebbles. So if anything comes regarding this, the simple at the most easy way, boulders are stone pebbles. So we'll start with few diagrams. This is core. Hammer strike. Hammer strike. The large portion which will come out, we'll call it as flake, and this is in total a stone. The second thing here that is important for the notice is that so this is the working gauge. This will be the working gauge for the stone. Now whenever a hammer strikes the pebble, so this is the hammer strike, right? This is flake and this is the core section. So whenever a hammer strikes the pebble, a flake comes out. The depression causes due to the strike of hammer is called as negative bulb of percussion. Negative bulb of percussion. So when the hammer strikes the pebble, the flick comes out. The depression caused due to the strike of hammer is called as negative bulb of percussion, and the corresponding elevation on the flick, which is called as positive bulb of percussion. Every strike creates both positive and negative bulb. This example of the tools, we'll write down certain examples relating to the tool. First is chopper, second is chopping tool, these both will come under heavy tools. Then we will talk about the hand axe, and cleavers. Hand axe and cleaver will come under core tool. The next here are scrapers, borers, and point. Scrapers, borer, and points. These three will come under flick tool. And the 8th, 9th, 10th, the last are microlith, harpoon, and celt. Microlith, harpoon, and celt. So these three comes. Now we'll divide them according to the ages that they are been in practice for the most of generations. So the core tools, the heavy tools, after that it comes the core tools. Core tools, we call them in a Acheulean hand axe and flick tools, and we put them in lower Paleolithic. The flick tools, we put them in middle or upper Paleolithic. The microliths are something that we put in Mesolithic period, harpoons in upper Paleolithic, and celt in Neolithic. So celt is something we'll put in Neolithic, microliths in Mesolithic. Now we will discuss about each one of them separately, and we'll draw the diagrams for most of them. So we'll start with chopper. Chopper is simple, a stone, core, and the area which was used for the purpose of chopping. This is unifacial, that only from one side it is used in chopper, and the other side, like this side, is used for holding. This was the tool practiced in Paleolithic. Now chopping tool is similar to the chop tool, but this was bifacial. Chopping tool. So here the stone is bifacial. Same it was also in the Paleolithic period. Chopping tools are important. Then comes the hand axe. We'll talk about the hand axe now. Hand axe is something which was used as an axe, but there were no handle to it. So there was a stone, and this was a particular section with the help of which man was able to cut whatever he wants. So this was particularly the working age. There were few types of hand axe, right? So this hand axe, Abevalian, which were heavier in nature, and Acheulean, which were finer in nature. Then there were cleavers. This was the working edge, and this was the holding grip, or we call it as butt end. The next is scraper. The edge will have the retouching, and secondary flicks or secondary flaking is seen here. So we'll try to draw a diagram. A stone, this will be the working edge. Borer. Now we'll talk about the borer. The working edge on both sides merge, and not to the extent it becomes a point. So basically, borer is something that there's two working edge and they do not meet to become a point, rather there's a separation. The next is harpoon. They are bone tools used for fishing, mainly found in the upper Paleolithic time. So they were basically used for fishing. So these were the harpoons. Celts, which was used in Neolithic period, and this was used in agriculture. Now in the next video we will be discussing separately about lower Paleolithic, middle Paleolithic and upper Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Chalcolithic, and so on. So thank you for watching the first video. I hope you subscribe to the channel if not yet, and have a great time ahead. Thank you.